What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to talk about something a little bit sketchy, and that is the rise of card store robberies that are happening here in Australia, but also around the world. There's almost stories, every other week now with a store or a vending machine being robbed. There's one in particular that happened today in Sydney, or in the last couple of days here in Sydney, that I think is good to highlight, sort of with the brazenness that people are going to try and do in the modern hobby. And I want to talk about it not because this is breaking news, but it's more just to sort of talk about how disappointing it sort of is to be seeing this stuff happen in this day and age when they're sort of ruining, what is meant to be a fun experience for us as card collectors. And obviously this kind of stuff is not new. You've had break-ins and robberies and stolen cards since the dawn of time because people can't help themselves. They're not very good people. But unfortunately, what we've seen over the last few years is that these things appear to have increased. Now, obviously, they've probably increased proportionally with the number of stores that we now have, the number of vending machines out there, the number of card shows, etc. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about it, right? And I want to try and talk about it, number one, to bring light to it. Obviously, lots of people flag this sort of stuff. But, if you've seen this happen, call it out. If you know stores that have been ripped off, reach out to me. Let me see if I can help them try and catch the people that are basically doing this sort of stuff. Because, I'm pretty sick and tired of it. And obviously, part of the reason, like I think I said in my intro, I want to highlight this one today because the person who's done this here in Australia has basically been so brazen with it. I just don't and can't comprehend how people can be this stupid. Now, this happened here in Australia, like I mentioned. It happened in Sydney's southwest, which is actually not far from where I live. And what you're about to see with how this person went ahead and broke into this vending machine is utterly insane. So this is being reported by one of the mainstream news sites here in Australia. But this absolute numpty decides to go ahead and ride his scooter up to this vending machine and brings a circular saw with him. He plugs it in, leaves his fingerprints everywhere, and then uses that to crack open, the display of the vending machine and then proceed to steal the packs. It's insane to me that somebody could be this stupid and this brazen. But like I said, it's one of those things that, we've seen a lot more. There's at least 6 or 7 stories that I can recall in the last 6 months here in Australia, in Sydney in particular, that have been reported by the news, which, when you think about the population of Australia, that's a huge number. And obviously some of this other footage you're seeing here is some of these other stores that have been broken into in Australia over the last 6 months. But it's one of those ones that I hate seeing this. It's ruining people's livelihoods, right? You've got people that are opening these stores, they're trying to sort of make money and provide for their families, and then you've got absolute scumbags like this looking just to make people's life a living hell. And it happened in Wetherill Park, which is actually not really far from me. But yeah, very, very disappointing. And I don't like the fact that we've seen this rise. And like I said, you've had so many stores open up. So proportionally, this is probably not anything new to what we're seeing, but the fact that there's so much more volume now, there's stories like this, all the time. This is a bit more here. It's about $20,000 Australian worth of product stolen. Really unfortunate. I don't like the fact that this is happening. You've had stores, big stores in Melbourne, Australia, get robbed back in February of this year. You've had some others in Sydney go off with $8,000 worth of cards being stolen. It's ruining people's lives, and I hate it. And I hate the fact that we're seeing this, and I hate the fact that people are not getting caught. Obviously, some people are getting caught, so that's a bit of a dumb thing for me to say, but I feel like we're seeing a lot more. They're not really hearing much about the people that did the crime in the first place. It's not just Australia, like I mentioned. There's a lot of these things that happen in the US. I've just quickly Googled card store robbery United States, and there's 4 separate stories here just in my page, 2 of which happened in the last month. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, guys. And I want to know, what you think we can do as a hobby to sort of improve this. Maybe there's nothing we can do, right? Maybe this stuff is always naturally going to happen. But it's one of those things where, like, if this continues to happen, it makes me really, nervous, because maybe it means, businesses are going to be like, well, we don't actually want to open a vending machine anymore. We're not going to make a 24-hour vending machine. And that ruins it for you and I. If I get bored and want to go open a pack of cards, I now can't do that because pieces of shit like this are sort of ruining it for everyone. I just can't comprehend it. And I've talked about it in the past on this channel about people in this space. And we've seen a lot of scams happen, between 2020 and 2024. And I talked about that a lot on my channel, so much so that people called me negative all the time. But what I've mentioned is that we saw so many people spend crazy amounts of money in 2020 that they essentially became desperate to recover as much money as possible. And what happened more often than not is people started to turn to shady activities to try and make themselves, feel better, try and make as much money as possible, because they dug themselves such deep holes that they almost had no choice. And I don't buy into that philosophy at all. I just can't comprehend how you can do that to somebody else. But people did that. And we saw that with people like Justin Scamble with his, repacks. He got himself in such a hole with the spending that he was making. He made repacks that were incredibly dodgy, not what he was basically selling his customers or saying he was selling to them, and was a huge ripoff. And he basically stopped doing it because someone like me called him out on a YouTube video, and then he sort of had to give up the shtick. We had people like the sports card therapist come out and do with the mega bids and the shield bidding situation. It's just insane the situations people will put themselves in and then default to performing a scam. And obviously, they're just a few examples here and there. That's not everyone in this space. This hobby is fantastic. There's probably like 0.0001% that ruin it for the rest of them. But you see it a lot. You see repackers do the same thing. We've seen, in recent times, businesses do really shady things with repacks and breaking platforms and steal cards from their customers because they have so much money to make, right? They're in such big debt is the only reason why I can think they're going to go ahead and do this. But they've got themselves into a position where they're willing to rip off a customer today and take the risk of that customer never coming back because they need to get that money today. I just don't get how people can operate like that. Like, where is the bloody common sense? You're a business in this space. You should be thinking long-term. You've got customers here. Look after your customers because a happy customer is going to come back. And that's why the good breakers have been around for, 15 years by this point, or 10, 15 years, whatever it's been, because they look after their people. And their people, they get treated well, they're going to keep coming back. But all these people in the modern space, I shouldn't say all, a lot of them in this modern space are far too short-sighted. And you see it with the content creators on YouTube too, right? It's not just limited to people selling cards or selling products. You've got people putting out content, talking out of both sides of their mouth to try and keep a sponsor happy because they want to get that bag and keep it coming in. It's just really shitty. And again, I'm having a bit of a rant now. This video was more meant just to highlight some of this crime that's happening and why it's really disappointing, especially to see one, so close to home. But, like I said, if you're seeing this sort of stuff happen, mention in the comments below and I'll flag it. I've gone on a rant about many different things, so I do apologize. But I just hate seeing this, right? This hobby is meant to be fun. And the fact that we're seeing this more and more just makes me really nervous because when I think about, the growth of this hobby, the fact that businesses are getting ripped off and they're now losing money and they now need to put more things in place to prevent fraud from happening or prevent getting ripped off means we might start seeing less things come from them. It's just, incredibly disappointing. So, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know if you've heard of any other stories, like I said, and we can sort of go from there and chin wag in the comments. But I'm just incredibly disappointed. I hate the fact that we're seeing more of it. And obviously it's because there's more volume, like I'm repeating myself now. But that doesn't make it okay. Like, I hate this. It's not good. And I really hope we see it stop because it's ruining people's livelihood. So if you see it, bloody call it out. Like, what are you not doing by not calling it out? And, one counterpoint to this actually is when card stores themselves get robbed, right? They're stealing cards, they're stealing slabs, whatever it is. You go ahead and buy that and you pay top dollar for this thing, or you pay a good amount of money that's now out of your family's funds, and the police come knocking on your door, you have to give that card back. You don't have the right to own that card. That's also another predicament that happens off the back of this that people don't think about. You've got somebody that steals something, they sell it to a vendor, that vendor then sells it to you. Now you're both implicated, unnecessarily. And then you're out of pocket and you have to wait to try and get your money back. It's just a shit situation. So if you're seeing it, please call it out. Now, before I go, I wanted to quickly flag, I want to thank Ship My Cards for sponsoring today's video. Use Cardman10 to get $10 credit when you sign up for a new account. This will be credit towards fees or even your postage home. If you're not sure what Ship My Cards is, they are a mail forwarding service or a storage service in the US. If you're somebody like me based in Australia, you want to buy cards on eBay or somewhere else that you're normally not able to get access to, or you want to pay ridiculous shipping prices home for every single card you buy, because, as an example here in Australia, one single card will cost me like $40 US to ship home to Australia, or I could pay $5, get it shipped to Ship My Cards, do that 10 times and then get 10 cards shipped home from them to me for the price of one card in terms of what it would cost me. So, use them for that service. Even if you're based in the US, it makes sense to be using them because you got their Oregon facility, you can avoid sales tax and the like. But it is what it is. They're great for sort of being a middleman for you to hold your cards and then sell them to others as well. They also do group submissions with PSA. I'm rambling. Their website explains it, but use Cardman10 to sort of help yourself. And it doesn't really give me a kickback, but it shows to them that people are watching my videos and they obviously like to use the service because I've gone ahead and flagged it. Again, I will quickly say, I've said this in every video. I've talked about them and talked about why you should be using them for the last 4 years, last 5 years since I made this channel. They've only come on as a sponsor in the last, 6 weeks or whatever it is. So it's not just because they're now paying me that I like to shout them out, right? I've shouted them out for 4 or 5 years, so that should carry some weight. Anyway, it is what it is, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.